Welcome back, everyone. This is John Gray once again with Raising the Jedi series, episode 12. This is installment 2, and just want to welcome you back and thank you for continuing to view the series. Just wanted to briefly go into some of the let's start with a brief review of what was covered in in the first installment of episode 12. We covered things like the reason for the episode, and that is to solve problems. Okay, so solving problems are all problems for future generations, really, because it was inspired by my children. All right, so how I was looking to do that was to have a contextual framework to actually code every context and approach to life such that it's understandable. And one of the models that's very effective is the Paut Neteru, also known as the Tree of Life. So that would look something like this. Let's see. It will look something like this. Okay, the Tree of Life is corresponding to the various spheres that you see here, and as you can see, it's superimposed on a central pillar, and that pillar is designed to conduct energy. And as you observe, it's made to stand on a flat surface, and as it extends itself upward, you see that there are electric piles that actually amplify energy. So as you can visualize, the higher up you go, the more energy is amplified. So the visual has a lot to say regarding conduct and conductivity and our relation to that, and to those concepts rather. So yes, this is what Raising the Jedi series is about, and we're going to continue all the way up the tree until we reach the very highest levels. Okay. One thing I do want to cover, just to clarify how this works. Okay, I'm going to swing it over here so we can see the bigger. We can see the other sections here. I'm going to stand here. All right. Okay, in this diagram, I have the Tree of Life on this side, and it is represented by having a heavenly section and then an earthly section here. Okay, at the bottom, you may be able to see the red section that corresponds to the head. The reason why it's sectioned off like this is because the earthly section is our human experience, okay, as flesh and blood beings. So this would be represented by the head that has all of the sensory faculties that are required to live and survive and thrive on or in the earth realm. Okay, so as we can see in our earthly realm, we have the left and right hemisphere, we have the middle brain function, as well as the medulla oblongata. If we were to turn our head sideways, it would reach, or it would actually connect here to the lower part of the cerebellum. Okay, so with that, we can actually see that the higher we go into our focus and the balance of our focus, we can actually raise ourselves from the lower reflexory degrees of response all the way up to a freer experience and a lighter experience of life itself, unencumbered. Okay, this would be represented by the wings that allow one to soar high above the lower developmental aspects in fact of faculties. Okay, so here's that model that I designed to give an example of the Heru levels of achievement. Yeah, at the bottom we have the leadership level, which is more of a solid red. Okay, let me see if I can bring this up so you can see. I can barely see it myself. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, so yes, we have the red. We have the red section that's solid, which shows that there is an attachment or a weightiness to Heru at that level. And then, of course, it becomes less solid here. It's more of an outline, red outline, and then it gets to become clear at the top. Okay, this would be the life of the sage, where all of the problems are able to be solved because Heru in its development, Heru being the faculty of action, faculty of courage, the faculty of leadership and kingship. On the way up, because the inspiration or the aspiration to raise one's consciousness all the way up to the top of the tree of life was sustained, that cleared the way for the advancement, okay, of the king of Heru. Okay, so I'm going to continue so you can see that there is a below. So as above, so below. Okay, and the below section is an indication that there is a connection between the mind and the body. So wherever the mind is able to focus, this is how the body will focus its activities as well. Okay, so I'm going to bring this back up so I can be a little more free in my movements here. Alrighty, so now, much as above, so below. Okay, where our minds are focused, the knee-jerk automatic responses also correspond to some of the sexual and lower responses of our bodies. Okay, same thing up here. This would be more of the womb, more of the motherly type of energy that would be connected, directly connected. Left and right hemispheres would correspond to the organs, and of course you can see the middle point here. This would be the chakra, the solar plexus, that when the mind is balanced, then the solar plexus awakens, and this would be the mouthpiece of God, so to speak, where they can get intuition. Also, the will is ignited from here, hence the solar plexus, and with a balanced will, there is the arising of the heart. And so this is where and how love and appreciation, reverence can come forth, that would allow that person to rise into levels of leadership, levels of teacher and student, learning the higher principles of the tree of life, and ultimately to become the sage and one with source. Okay, so that's what we have as far as the raising of the Jedi series. It's about raising our frequency so that we can conduct ourselves in all aspects of our lives at the highest degree. Okay. All right. Another thing about the Djed, because I didn't want to forget the significance of the Djed pillar. Being that the Djed is central to the tree of life, it represents all of the upright and conducting structures in creation, and these structures correspond to mountains, pyramids. They also correspond to trees, poles, rods. We probably remember the rod of Aaron that was so powerful in some of the biblical stories. Um, they also correspond with temples, churches, houses. Okay, um, they're also symbolized in most traditions as crosses. For example, Ankh crosses, and even the Christian cross. Also, the equidistant cross that we use as well. Um, we can look into the Bible about the pillars, anything that's referencing pillars, where in Jacob's ladder, climbing Jacob's ladder, um, he was able to erect a pillar, etc., and so that he can climb the ladder, which equates to the backbone that we can see. The backbone of Osir is the Djed, and also to be much like an antenna, the modern day antenna, to be able to communicate, to transmit and receive, okay, information and energy. So this is what the Djed is. It's a very dynamic complex of ideas that can allow the mind to be able to move from one idea or one context to the next with great efficiency. Okay. All right. So this is what it's all about, and we left off on our last episode with dealing with procession, and I'm going to grab some notes here. I'm going to turn us to our main board here, and I'm just going to go in and we're going to look at some things here. Let's see. Oh yeah, I wanted to make sure to cover a review about the difference between we did cover in last episode the difference between the soul and the spirit, and how both the body and the spirit are essential aspects of the total evolution of the soul. Okay, we did cover that, and the last thing is the question that I asked: what do we all have in common? We have four things that we have. Every human being has in common, and that's the sky that's affecting us biomagnetically. Our number two is the air that we breathe, which is charged by that celestial energy that's containing information. Number three, the waters that's in the air, okay, and the water that's on the ground and that permeates into the earth. Those are things that we have in common, okay. And number four is our spiritual blueprint, which is the cosmos, is the same blueprint of the cosmos itself, as seen here on this model of the body, the human body. Okay. All right, so making sure we cover all of these things before we get into the numbers, because we have to apply what we know. And if you can't apply it, it's just vanity and ego. So we're going to go beyond that. We're going to correct all of that. And let's want to jump right in here. Okay. All right. So we left off with the key of procession, and I think we went into procession from here by using this particular wheel as an example, using the 30 degrees that's represented for each house of the zodiac. It has 12 houses, of course, and 30 degrees, each degree being 72 years. When it makes its turn, each degree is 72 years, and you multiply that by 12, and that would bring you up to one great cycle, or one great precession of 25,920 years. All right, so each degree is 72, and each house is 2,160 degrees. So yes, this is a lot of good numbers that we're going through, and we're going to make sure that we see some relationships between the great cycle, the cosmic cycle, and how to step those frequencies down so that our human body can actually utilize it according to what's needed. Okay, and this would be demonstrated on the Tree of Life. So I'm going to give you this this board that's going to have all of the numbers. It's going to give you the geometry. It's going to give you the divisions or fractions that's involved. Also the colors and the frequencies that are involved in how all the frequencies actually pan out in the environment. So first off, let's begin with defining frequencies. Okay, I have up here, frequencies are cosmic circuits that translate into rhythmic beats, pulses, breaths, and vibrations. That is to say, sound and light. So sound comes forth as tones and overtones, or notes and overtones, and then light comes through as colors. We have the seven names, colors in the spectrum, just like we have the 7 colors or 7 chakras of our anatomic, spiritual anatomic system. Okay. All right. So let's see. I'm going to go straight into the yugas now, because this is what is really important, because the yugas is the key to our application. So if you can hear the notes, if you can hear the word yuga and recognize the relationship to yoga, okay, yuga and yoga, they have the root word of yoke. To yoke something is to combine it, okay, or to link it. Okay. Now, in this sense, with the use of yoga, we're using yoga to actually amplify the individual's power. Okay, as opposed to what's been happening over the past few ages, where the individual has been drained of their energy by being under yokes or bonds, okay, or different enslavement processes. Okay, so here's how we arrived at the yugas. Okay, so in Ra'u Nefer Amen's book, okay, it's Medunater, Volume 1. He has on page 388 the harmonics of breathing, and while observing the numbers with various circuits and pulses, beats, and cycles, an amazing synchronicity occurred. Okay, the number 4,320,000 years was assigned to indicate a vast expanse of time that men experienced during the 4 ages. Okay, the 4 great ages that progressively declined, by the way. They have the Golden Age, which would be here, which would be the Krita or Satya Yuga. Okay, that one was supposed to be 1,728,000 years, and then you have the Treta Yuga, which lasts about 1,296,000 years. The Dwapara Yuga, 864,000 years, and then 4th would be the Kali Yuga, 432,000 years. All right. Now, because there's no correlation between of these vast numbers, in the cycles, in the celestial cycles, other cycles or circuits, what have you, were observed. Other cycles were observed, namely through the discipline of music. Okay, so this is how we're able to link and solve the riddle of, okay, why can't we find these vast numbers years in anything in nature? Why can't we track something or subdivide it so we can see it? Okay, it was through the overtones in the musical notes is how this thing was solved. Okay, so let's see. All right, so the overtones or the musical notes and the overtones observed, it contained the celestial numeric values, that reflect both the okay, it reflects both the celestial as well as the human interface. So here's some facts. Okay, the vibrating mechanism of the cosmos are the celestial cycle circuits. Okay, that's meaning the stars, the sun, the moon, and other unseen celestial bodies like Rahu and Ketu. Okay. Fact number 2, the vibrating mechanism of man is the breathing system. Okay. And fact number 3, there's a 1-to-4 ratio between breaths and pulses. Okay. That as an example, that would be 18 breaths per minute would equal 72 beats or 72 heartbeats. Okay, so we're looking at these ratios and numbers that are specific to it, and so we're able to find out through the use of, say, the note C. Okay, we know that the C note has about 6 overtones that goes with it, and as that, as the case is, there was a correlation between how many notes there are or overtones there are in combination with the whole note itself. So the whole note represents the highest, okay, from which everything else comes from. So that's how that was found. Okay, the highest note. And the overtones actually break down in terms of halves, thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, and twelfths. Okay. Now, it's quite interesting when we start looking at these numbers as they break down into their divisions. Okay. Numeric divisions, they start to break down once you assign, say, 2160. Okay. Where did we see that 2160? We saw 2160 here as one age. All right. So if we are able to assign 2160 to that C note and then break it down according to its divisions, okay, of 1/2, that number 2160 would become 4320. Okay, so there's your clue. There's your second clue. This is your harmonic clue to the yugas. Okay, remember the yugas, they have 4,320,000 years. Okay, since nothing was found in nature that corresponded to that except for the C note or the harmonic clue here to this note C. This was like a smoking gun of sorts. Okay, so once this was able to be found, then another division was made, which was 6480, and then the following in the fourth division was 8640, and so forth. 1/5 is 108 or 10,800. Sixth division is 12,960, and the 12th division is 25,920, which is, and here we go again, we see another coincidence. All right, this is the precessional cycle that we were talking about right here. 25,920 years to make a complete circuit. All right, so this is pretty good. All right, so now we can actually see that there are relationships. And we can even go even further. We can go even further here to try to make these notes right. All right, so we can go further to actually make more relationships here. All right, so we also have other aspects of science, which are degrees. Okay, remember we stopped on our previous episode with looking at the whole notes, half notes, third notes, quarter or fourth notes, or divisions of the note C, and we're finding out that these have degrees associated with them. So these degrees can be found to show up as harmonic numbers as well. Remember, we had the 18 breaths per minute equaling 72 heartbeats, and here we have 72 heartbeats here at the 1/5 division. But these are numbers that actually are harmonious to the human system. All right, so on this side, what we've done is we've organized the information so that we can see how we were able to solve the riddle of the Yuga myth. Okay, the myth had some truth in it, like most all myths do. It's just a matter of, can we find that one clue that's going to open up other clues that relate, and they can actually go back and forth. Now we're going to see the back and forth and how these things connect, these numbers connect. And we're going to actually use those numbers in the meditative yogic breathing techniques. Okay. All right. So, all right. Let's see. We have. Well, just wanted to also show. If I can get that closer. Wanted to show the geometry. Okay. We're seeing that the geometry has various angles and so forth. Each one has, like the 112, that corresponds to our zodiacal wheel, which when we look at the 112, this is how, if we're breathing, in accordance to the Kali Yuga, that would be your most shallow breath pattern. And while we're doing that shallow breathing, it's kind of counterproductive, especially if we're not aware of the patterns that we're breathing. Now we can use that. We can use the knowledge and awareness to actually change that, though. And this is why knowledge is only half the battle, and knowledge is very necessary in order to engage in it. Okay, so the Kali Yuga being 18 breaths per minute. Okay, they correspond. All right, so if we have average breaths per minute, we're going to show how it crosses over. Average breaths per minute would actually translate into average breaths per day. Let's do some math here. All right, so your average breath per minute, which is 18 breaths times 60, which is 60 minutes, times 24 hours equals 25,920, which would equal that. Would equal the processional cycle, and would correspond to the harmonic, the musical harmonic that we found by using the note C to determine that, the overtone of C, which is a G note, by the way, G overtone. And also it goes up, the Balarama. You can do the same measure. Instead of using 18, you'd use 9. Okay, so Balarama and Japa, these were some known techniques, but they weren't assigned as the 4 yugas. They weren't assigned in the allegory of the 4 yugas. Okay, but we were able to get the information that showed that the Japa and Balarama were very key in the human system. So we have it actually. I was able to place it onto the Tree of Life using a system or technique that I developed here by using this. Okay, and this is where the breakthrough comes through, because I've made it up in my mind that every transition would have to happen at the level of Heru, which would be in the center. So how that looks on the tree of life is like this. All right, and this is the board that we've been seeing for the longest, and now we get to see how it all connects. I'm going to bring it forward. All right, so we have all of the. See if I can bring it up. All right, so we have every faculty of the tree down, even in the earth faculty, represented. Okay, so we see the notes G notes at the 1/12th division, and we see the 30 degrees in the division of the whole breath. Okay, and we see the 1/6 division. Okay, and each division I've made so that it actually advances at the center of these, so that we can actually know what type of breath we can apply. We can apply the Balarama breath to this 1/6, and that would actually affect. See if I can help you read it here. It would be excellent for strengthening the body. So these are some of the things I've been working with over during the spring and part of the summer, to actually give me the first-hand knowledge as to what works and how to use it so that it can work for everybody without making a situation that a friend of mine was talking about with some very practiced gurus over in India, where they had situations of the students getting lightheaded and actually passing out. Okay, my situation is I want to prevent people from going through that. One of the things that we have to recognize in doing yogic breathing practices is we do not want to try to breathe in using effort. Okay, the way that we can actually keep ourselves from going or from getting that lightheadedness, that's if we're healthy and if we're eating properly, is to use the proper compressions. Breathe in not as much as you can, but breathe in ample enough and then compress. And then after compressing, knowing where you are in your count, okay, then once you reach your halfway, and then maybe 3 or 4 seconds after that, then start releasing. Okay, but know that it's going to change. It's going to change the higher you get on the tree, because your breath will have to be longer. Okay, you're going to have to do longer holds, and there's a way to do it up the tree, and I've gone all the way up the tree, and that gives me the experience and confidence to know what works, and that's going to actually help us as we move beyond today, which happens to be the day of Black Sun. All right, so the day of Black Sun is actually the changing of the guard, as Sevan Bomar would describe it very aptly. Shout out to Sevan. It's the changing of the guard, where you see a regime that has been in place for a very long time preparing to change hands into another regime. Okay, now where we have a great opportunity, and we being the people who want to uphold natural law and in all of its forms, we have an opportunity, because we're being given the wisdom and the knowledge just straight from the blue, from the stars, etc. Just absorbing it, and our DNA and our bodies are waking up to it. And so we have the desire, for those of us who have the desire, We need to be about climbing the tree so that when we have the opportunity to get into place, we have the solutions already manifested. Okay, and as we can see, the solutions to yoga and raising consciousness, they're here now. Okay, I wasn't always here before, but see, consciousness is that being aware that you're not conscious or that you're missing parts that you really need. Okay, but we have a system here that when you put in the proper amount of focus and attention, and time, okay, these elements will actually yield the results. And I can say this with all honesty, and many people who once doubted me and had certain negative things to say about me, they can vouch now that they barely recognize who they're listening to, because I would not speak in this way. The level of coherence wasn't as high as it is now, but I learned how to raise the coherence. And the higher you get, the more coherent. And this is why the top priority of doing meditation is to get the unity frequency. And this unity frequency will allow you to go to any faculty as life presents itself to say, hey, you need to be just, or you need to be knowledgeable of law, you need to be able to be caring and nurturing, all of those things. You need to have perfect health. So with the unity faculty that's being firmly pursued, you will actually accomplish that, and those things will be able to be segued into as life shifts. Okay, and so that all of the things that we've been trained in terms of fear would be no more. Okay, it doesn't mean that life won't have scary moments, but you'll be able to deal with it with confidence that you have higher help. Okay, higher help comes from within, and that within reverberates outward. Okay, and then those people that are here to experience life, they begin to do the dance of life with you. Okay, and we start thinking in terms of, okay, this is a coincidence, and yes, it is a coincidence, but it's not an accident. All right, so what I want to do here, let's see, is really give everybody what they're watching for. Okay, so I want to make sure and cover the yugas. Okay, again, just to review, we have what's called the Maha Yuga, which is 4,320 years, and at the Maha Yuga, this would be the highest level that you could go, and this would be your breath in and the breath out, 30 seconds. Okay, because Maha Yuga is one breath, which equates to one breath being 60 seconds, so 30 seconds in, 30 seconds out. What's the effect of the Maha Yuga breath? Let's see over here. It says you make contact with your Christ nature. You make contact with your highest self. Okay. Some of the benefits of making contact with your highest self is you begin to organize events. Okay, events start to actually shape up for you. Then you're in one harmonic with the universe. Okay, and this is something that you create for yourself. It's not something that anybody does for you while you wait for something to happen. You actually get into the flow of life right up here. Okay, going down to the Satya Yuga. Okay, now we're going down in steps. So that you can see that this is a half breath, okay, half of the processional breath, or the Maha Yuga, which is the Krita or Satya Yuga. The Krita Yuga has a lot to do with the words of power and the ancestors, the Shepsu or the enlightened ancestors. the kind of help you can get from them, and the wisdom that you can get from them. Okay, so that would be 1,728,000 years according to the myth. All right, so that would be 3 breaths per minute. 3 breaths per minute. Now this one's much easier than the Maha Yuga breath. 3 breaths per minute equates to 10 seconds in the inhale and 10 seconds on the exhale. All right, so 10 in and 10 out. Okay, next episode, okay, installment 3 actually, is going to help us to actually manage that breath so that there's no lightheadedness. All right, Trita Yuga is the 1/3 step, and as you can see, this corresponds to this level of the tree. All of the faculties that are in this level containing Ma'at. This is the understanding of spiritual truths, okay, and understanding of justice, right? So when we have these faculties awakened in us, we don't have to be fooled by what people would say something is, as far as, you know, people trying to make you vote for a particular thing because of whatever they may have as an agenda. Okay, you would actually know the truth. You'd be able to head that off at the pass. Okay, Dwapara. Okay, that's your 1/4 division. Okay, that's your the copper age, which is 864,000 years. Okay, and how many breaths that is? Is 6 breaths per minute, which means that you would breathe in 5 seconds and breathe out 5 seconds to make the full breath. Okay, to make the full, you do that 6 breaths per minute, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. All right, what the effect of this one is it enhances the ability to learn material facts. So if you're a little slow with reading, or if you're slow with comprehension, this allows these 2 faculties, that's the Heru and the Sebek faculties, the logical faculty, the syllogistic, as well as the visual and spatial faculties, to kind of come together. Okay, and when you have the balance of both hemispheres, then you can get a full picture of what, or a full picture of the information that you're trying to absorb. Okay, all right, so we have one of the other, actually there's 2 other breathing frequencies. One is called the Japa, which is 7.5 breaths per minute, which equates to roughly 4 seconds in and 4 seconds out. The effects of the Japa is great for performing repeated mantras or establishing frequencies. Okay, so if you need to have a certain frequency that you need to establish, as far as being able to keep up with certain things, then you can use this mantra and whatever the idea is that you need. So if it's a mantra that allows you to think in terms of being on time, then you can use that mantra that will help you. It will be a repeated mantra that would actually condition your spirit or your soul to actually function in a particular way. Okay, it's like, establishing patterns or habits. Okay, Balarama Yuga, for people who may be dealing with bouts of weakness. Provided you are eating well, or consuming the nutrients that you need, it's excellent for strengthening the body, and it's also good with tantric practices. That would be 9 breaths per minute, which is 3.3 seconds in and 3.3 seconds out, roughly 3 seconds. So 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3. Okay. Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the Iron Age. This is 18 breaths per minute. Is very shallow breath. Okay, this is the default breath for the beast, or the actual physical body that may be out of your control, so to speak. Okay, when you're not conscious or thinking about, the fidgeting or the twitching or the just restlessness, you can start becoming more aware by applying a Kali Iron Age breathing technique that is 1.5 seconds, 1.5 seconds in, 1.5 seconds out. And the technique for this, to keep from getting lightheaded, is to make sure that you're pushing the air out from the diaphragm, as opposed to pushing it out and then trying to breathe in. That will make you lightheaded for sure. So yeah, these are some of the yogic techniques that will allow you to get to deliberately train your consciousness and expand it as needed. Okay. Now, another tip would be to, if you have that racing monkey mind where you can't stop thinking and so forth, stay tuned for installment 3, because I'm going to get into real detail about the application of this so that you can actually put it to action. Today is the day of the black sun, and a lot of changes are going to be happening, so you got to be ready. Okay, these are the breathing frequencies, and look for these frequencies to be up any day now, because I have the app. I'm going to show that to you real quick. Let me get my phone here. One second. And here I am. Okay, so I have an app now, and I'm going to show it to you. It's called Metronome. Okay, and if you can see here, it would be this app right here. You'll see that logo. You can get this for your iPhone or your Android phone, and this Metronome app, you can start programming it using some of the frequencies, and I'm going to give you an example of the frequencies here. I actually have a library made. I had to create these from scratch, and let's see. I'm going to start with the Balarama Yuga, so you can hear. Basically, what the app is to do is to give you the rhythm, so that once you get into it, your body is going to be trained, your mind is going to be trained as to the range of rhythm that you need to sustain in order to support your goal of achieving the level of consciousness that you want to achieve. Okay. Now, keep in mind that the level of consciousness, remember, our body is the tool that is used to compress the air so that it can actually become a part of, it can transfer the information that's in the air according to the frequency that we are breathing it in. And so it's going to be like changing the knob on the radio or on the whatever the device is, so that you can get the proper signal. And so that proper signal will correspond to those yuga those yugas and the levels on the tree of life. So I'm going to actually get really physical. You'll be able to see how I make the compressions, and how I actually make the holds, the compressions, inhalations, exhalations, and you'll be able to walk away without that light head. Okay. Also going to give you some tips on the types of foods to prepare your body, because preparation is everything. Okay. Just like Jesus, who is the Nazarene. The Nazarene means to be the prepared one, the one who prepares his body. Okay. It would be likened to the parable of the wineskins, where if you're putting new wine into old skins, meaning the old skin being the body that's conditioned to have all the junk in it, then it will burst the skins and the wine would be lost. All right. So we want to make sure that we create the new wine skin of our bodies by eating properly and by drinking clean fluids and enriched or oxygen enriching types of foods and minerals. That's going to allow us to hold in the breath a lot longer. Okay, so chlorophyll, things with chlorophyll, greens, leafy greens, preferably raw, because they actually have the living nutrients. Life begets life. All right, so stay tuned for installment 3, and I want to thank everybody for watching, and I hope that you got a benefit from some of the numbers so that you can see the relevance of how to apply the celestial cycles to your microcosmic cycles through breathing. All right, leave me a message in the comment section at the bottom on YouTube, and feel free to check me out on Facebook. You can look me up under John L. Gray. Do a search, John L. Gray. You'll see me holding the sun, just like in YouTube. And if you have any questions, if you want to friend me, leave me a note in my message inbox, and we can take it from there. And I can tell you about my journey and how I gained confidence in the whole process of applying the cycles of the cosmos to my life. All right. So know that everything is going to be great. If you aspire to the highest aspect of yourself, you will achieve it. And know that you have help. You're not alone. All right. Thanks again. Have a great one.